So, Pitch Black, or Abyssal Eye in Japanese, just got its entire card set revealed. So, in this video, I will call out any cards I find noticeable. This includes every EX card, every trainer card, and any basic regular cards that I think are useful. Now, Abyssal Eye comes out on the 22nd of May, same as Chaos Rising in English, and the English version of Abyssal Eye, Pitch Black, will come out sometime in July or June. So, let's begin with... I originally wrote Lurantis off as a bad attacker without any much support, due to its main attack being a Lively Cutter, which does 60 damage, plus 200 if they got healed this turn. I just didn't think there were any noteworthy healing options. I mean, all I thought was Potion or Pokemon Center Lady, which I suppose could work, but you know, you can only run 4 of those in a deck, and it's not consistent to get them each and every turn. There's another card in the set that can heal Lurantis, but that's more of a one-time thing. Then I remembered a certain stadium called Community Center, which means each player heals 10 damage each turn if they use a supporter. And you most likely are going to use a supporter each turn with Lurantis, because most supporters are extremely playable, think Liz's Termination or Boss's Orders. You see, the thing about Lurantis is that it doesn't actually matter how much you got healed, so 10 HP from Community Center certainly is going to be powering up Lively Cutter. And it's also for 1 Grass Energy. That's really good because it one-shots a lot of good Pokemon. Mine's Grimmsnarl, and Zoroark, Cornerstone Ogerpon, Cynthia's Garchomp, and most single prize attackers except Crustle, because Crustle, ignores the EX card and Lurantis in EX. Now, of course, like I mentioned, there is another card that helps Lurantis in the set, but I will get to that later. Wailord EX is one of the cards that got revealed ahead of time. Surf does 120 for 3 water energy, and Falling Down does 270 and puts Wailord to sleep for 5 whole energy. Oh yeah, this thing has 380 HP, which is the most amount of HP anything has ever had in the TCG. Yeah, imagine they made a Mega Wailord. That thing will have like about 500 HP, but besides that, I imagine Wailord's isn't going to be that good. Now, there is a card in this set that does charge up plus 4 water energy, and it's Misty's Energy, which was revealed at the same time as Wailord, but I don't think it's going to be that useful, and I'll get to Misty's Energy later. Now, the 270 damage does one-shot quite a few Pokemon, such as Mewtwo and Zoroark, and every single prize attacker except Crustle, but it kinda just doesn't hit the 280, not 380, 280 threshold of Mega Absol. Some cards like Maximum Belt could certainly help, or Black Belt Straining, but you probably just want to be using a different attacker. But if you want to use a funny water deck, just use Mega Abomasnow, because that deck is hilarious. Hey, Primarina got a new card, finally! I can't remember when the last time Primarina got a card that wasn't TCG Pocket. Anyway, its new ability is what really shines here, Max Melody. It heals all damage from one of your Pokemon upon evolving. It's a really nice way of getting Lively Cutter with Lurantis EX, which I mentioned early on, to use some extra damage, but unlike Community Center, it's not repeatable. And we haven't got many good cards that can put cards back into your hand, maybe a Scoop Up Cyclone, but that's your ace spec. And if you want to be using an ace spec with Lurantis, I'd recommend Unfair Stab, or Max Rod, or anything, maybe even a Pokevital A or B, because that heals your Pokemon. And Primarina only does it upon evolving, which is a one-time thing. And that's just not good in a deck with grass types, especially since it needs a water type energy. And you don't really want to also just slap a water type energy just because in the deck. Honestly, I'm just happy Primarina gets a new card, and maybe you could use it with Lurantis, but then again, no one's really going to be using Lurantis, because it doesn't one-shot Dragapult, and that's all we care about right now. Next is Manectric, who for 2 lightning energy does 50 damage and is immune to all damage from evolution Pokemon, which is most of the good cards in this format. So I could definitely see this being like a good early game Pokemon, kind of like a disruption so you can get your Pokemon set up, and there is a good lightning type attacker in this set, so maybe Manectric could be used for that, but honestly I don't see it, especially because it needs 2 lightning energy, not just 1. If it did 1 and 20, I could, 1 energy but 20 damage, I could see this being used, but for the time being, I don't think Manectric's going to have that much use. Here we have Mega Zeraora EX, and for 1 lightning energy, it does 60 damage for each lightning energy attached to Zeraora, which has potential. There are plenty of ways of getting electric type energy or lightning type energy if you want to be that person to Zeraora. Think Dynamo to Electric, or even Overvolt Discharge with Magneton. And then we have Zepto Turn. I have no idea what Zepto means, but it does 150 and lets you switch out, which is not nearly as good as Thunder Fists. I generally think Mega Zeraora has potential though, but don't expect to see Worlds. I think Mega Chandelure has some potential. So Curse Flame makes your opponent's retreat cost 1 more energy, which is really nice because it retreat locks your opponent, and it really pairs well with its main attack, Phantom Maze. For 2 Psychic Energy, it does 130 plus 50 for each energy on your opponent's retreat cost. What's great is that the ability Curse Flame stacks, so you can have multiple Chandelure on your bench, and if you've got, 4 Chandelure in play, there's an additional 200 damage. Not to mention any existing retreat costs, which honestly most Pokemon it's just 1 nowadays. So you're doing 250 more damage. I'd say that's pretty good. Of course, it's going to be quite difficult, but Lampent does have an attack that lets you search your deck for 3 Lampent and put it on your bench. And if you have all the Chandelures set up, it OHKOs Dragapult. I really like the idea of Mega Chandelure EX, preventing your opponent from retreating, but it also really punches Venusaur because it's got such a fat retreat cost. This card, I think, has potential. And here we have the main card of Abyssal Eye, Mega Darkrai EX. So for 2 basic Dark Energy, it does 110 damage, and if you've got any damaged Pokemon on your bench, then does 110 more damage. This is really good. You can see cards like Sinister's Toxtricity, Whiskey Ruin, Munkidori. This could work. I like the idea of this. But the main deal is Abyssal Eye. For 3 Dark Energy, it knocks your opponent's active Pokemon out as long as they have a status condition. Now there are some other cards that could work with this, and one we'll see in this set, but some of the ideas that come to mind is Brightwing Volcarona. Discard a fire energy from your hand and your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Burned is a status condition. Then we also have Lisia's Appeal, which is basically boss's orders, but the opponent's active Pokemon is now confused, and confusion is a status condition. So you can get Pokemon from your opponent's bench that you specifically want to KO, target them, bring them forth, and one-shot them. I personally think this is the best EX in the set. Sure, 3 Dark Energy is crazy, but we do have cards like Sinister's Toxtricity. So I could see this working. I could generally see this as being a really good deck. Hey, a little editing shell side here. I was just going through the video, getting the image for Lisia's Appeal, and I didn't realize it was only for basic Pokemon, not just any Pokemon. Bit unfortunate, but there are a lot of basic Pokemon around about now that are pretty good. Think Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Absol, Munkidori, even though just a simple Night Raid will KO Munkidori, so I don't know why you want to do that. You can even KO like other Darkrai EX if this card starts popping up, maybe even Mega Zeraora. But yeah, I mistook Lisia's Appeal. It's a card that I don't see people use all that often. Because Confusion's not really that good of a status condition. People much rather run boss's orders. So yeah, my bad. And I also misread the name of Volcarona's ability. Toad Scales. It's Toad Scales, not Brightwing. I need to do research into what the card's actually called. I can't remember everything. Sorry about that. Why they decided to give Morpeko in the X is completely beyond me. Either way, it's a pretty decent card, I'd say. It has the Wheel Draw attack, which lets you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. This is brilliant for the start of the game. If you've not got a good enough hand, you can just try again. It's basically a Professor's Research, but 1 less card and you don't discard your hand. We also have Hunger Bomb, which does 40 damage plus 40 more if for each damage counter that's on Morpeko, so like Outrage or Endless Reshiram. So, if you have 80 damage on Morpeko, you one-shot Dragapult. 100 damage on Morpeko. You one-shot everything in the game besides Crustle because it's immune and if anything's wearing a cape. Even then, if Morpeko is on such low HP, it is one-shotting literally everything in the game for 2 Dark Energy. Now, it's going to be hard to set this up because you actually have to damage Morpeko, maybe something like Sinister Surge Toxtricity, and maybe, get your opponent to target you with Munkidori, if they're that stupid enough. But honestly, I think I could run this. I think this is a really funny deck to use. Like, imagine throwing Morpeko at the opponent and just beating them. I think that's hilarious, and I actually am looking forward to see what this card does. I'm quite sad that Mega Excadrill isn't that good. I already get shade thrown at it because it looks stupid, but genuinely I love Mega Excadrill. He looks like Denji from Chainsaw Man, and I used one during my first ever ZA playthrough, and I named him Denji, so I have a big attachment to the dude. Either way, he kinda sucks. Dig and Break does 90 damage for 2 metal energy and discards the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, which is fine, a nice discard. But then we have Maximum Drill, which does 200 damage for 3 metal energy, and 130 if Excadrill has 2 extra energy of any type attached. 330, nice damage, it one-shots Dragapult, and with a maximum belt, everything else in the game, except for Think wearing a cape, or Crustle. But it needs 5 energy. There are ways you can do this, Metal Maker, Metang, or even X-Boost Metagross, but it just doesn't do it for me. 5 whole energy is just way too hard to get online, even with Metal Maker or X-Boost, and it also doesn't really help that Maximum Drill needs 3 metal energy, it doesn't have any colourless, so you can't just spam X-Boost. I really wanted Mega Excadrill to work, but it's probably not going to. Honestly, I'm just happy we got another Pikipek card. Pikipek is one of my favourite Pokemon, and so is Toucannon. Also, Toucannon actually might work. Its Sky Draw attack lets you draw a card each turn, which is decent draw support, kind of like on Mega Kangaskhan's ability. Then we have Feather Rondo. So for 1 colorless energy, it does 60 damage plus 20 for each benched Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. It's not amazing by any means, but I really like the idea of Toucannon hitting for a maximum of 260 and allowing for more cards. Like, imagine that dude with a maximum belt that's doing 310 damage. I should turn this into a deck. Toucannon's one of my favourite Pokemon, and accompanying Flute, that could help out quite much. But yeah, I only really wanted to bring this up because I like Toucannon. He's one of my favourite Pokemon, but I don't think he's ever going to use this card because so like this. Bombardier has a really interesting attack. It has the Delivery Challenge attack, which is 2 colorless energy, and you flip 2 coins. If both are heads, you can search your deck for any Pokemon and put it on the bench. Any Pokemon. Not a basic or a specific Pokemon, kind of like Lampent's attack, just any Pokemon in general, which is very gimmicky, but I could see it working. Although Grimsey's move is better, even though it is only for Dark types, at least that one doesn't rely on a coin flip, but there is a card later down the line that could help out with Bombardier. Now we've gone over all the Pokemon, we'll go over all the trainer cards. And there are quite a few good ones in this set, I will tell you that. First up is the Dark Bell, which helps out Darkrai a ton. It confuses both the active Pokemon unless they are Dark types. Darkrai is a Dark type, confuses the status condition. You see where I'm coming from. With the Dark Bell, you can freely ochre any of your opponent's Pokemon. You can use Meowth to get Petrol and then get the Dark Bell, or just Secret Boss it. Dark Bell and Darkrai are going to go really well together. The only issue is that you gotta get the Dark Bell, which you can't do consistently each turn, and if it's in the discard, you can only carry 4 of your opponent's Pokemon. Then again, that's 4 Pokemon. If any of them are EXs or Mega EXs, you've probably won the game. But honestly, this could work well with Darkrai. This is really weird tool. So if a non-Mega Pokemon, this includes EX cards, take over 240 damage from a Mega Pokemon EX, then they've got 12 damage counters on them. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is from a single hit or continuous over time, but if it was the latter, I could generally see this being used in decks like Grimmsnarl or Mega Starmie, where you could spread damage counters with cards like Frostlass. But if it's a single attack, it's not nearly as good, because in most single attacks that do over 240 damage, or a Mega EX, are probably going to one-shot you anyway, besides a Mega Brave Lucario. But it's still decent, but incredibly gimmicky if it is that. So remember Bombardier? The retry badge lets you flip a coin again if, you don't like the outcome that it was. It feels like it was made for Bombardier. The only issue is it's only for colourless Pokemon. I can see cards like Alolan Exeggutor benefiting from this. The only thing is, I could only really see this being used by Mega Kangaskhan with its, punching attack. But the Mega Kangaskhan's more of a support Pokemon, not really much of a sweeper, although it can do in certain situations, but I honestly don't think it's that good of a card. This might be one of the best cards that come out of Abyssal Eye. If you use it, your turn ends, but you get to attach 4 basic water energy from your deck to one of your Pokemon. Now you discard your deck. Wailord benefits this quite well, but also some other Pokemon like Lapras EX from Perfect Order, or even Jewel Breaker Regigigas, who is perfect into Dragapult. Other than that, it's really easy just to see what this card does. Attach a shit ton of energy and end your turn, which is bad because then your opponent can target down your powered Pokemon. But if they aren't set up or the game is only just starting, this card's honestly pretty good. So here we have an incredibly gimmicky deck. It's Gladion's Decisive Battle. Slowbro and Thievul benefit from having no cards in your hand, as Slowbro hits for 210 for 1 energy with its all-out attack, and Thievul has Skill Feed, which lets you use one of your opponent's attacks only if you haven't got any cards in your hand. Then we have Gladion's Decisive Battle, which lets your Pokemon hit without a Raw Box, so the Pokemon can't have a Raw Box, and they hit for 80 more damage if you have no cards in your hand. This sounds good, but there is no way for you to get rid of all the cards in your hand besides manually discarding them, which isn't that good, and then you can't, draw more cards, you can't get more cards. This deck idea is stupid. And I also forgot to mention Silph Ally, which lets you guarantee a Gladion's Decisive Battle, as long as you have no cards in your hand, as it lets you search for any supporter. But yeah, this is a really gimmicky deck, and quite frankly, not a good one. Then again, saying that, I'm probably going to get destroyed at my local card tournament now with this deck, but I don't care. Gladion's Decisive Battle is not that good of a deck. Okay, so here we have a really bad card. It's the Rust Syndicate Grunt. It's Rust Syndicate Grunt. You can only use this if one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn, and then you discard an energy from your opponent's Pokemon. That's it. There are no cards that do the Grunt's job better, but the Grunt's job isn't necessary. Well, I mean, there's one instance, but we'll get to that later. Gwyn might be the best supporter in the set. You may discard up to 2 Pokemon without a Raw Box and draw 2 cards for each Pokemon you discard. This is amazing draw power, but there is a deck later down the line that really likes this card, but I'll get to that later. So now we're going to the special energies, like Bolty Lightning Energy. This might be a Pokebeach's mistranslation, but honestly this might be the funniest card name in the game. Anyway, it's honestly pretty good. It lets your Lightning type Pokemon deal 20 more damage, which is nice, more chip. But the thing is that Mega Zeraora's Thunder Fist does 60 more damage for each Lightning Energy. Not basic Lightning Energy, regular Lightning. So, you could put Bolty Lightning Energy on it. Instead of doing 60 for each energy, you do 80. 4 Bolty Lightning Energy does exactly 320 damage, which OHKOs Dragapults. And I know I keep drilling down saying, oh, it OHKOs Dragapult, it OHKOs Dragapult. But honestly, this thing is running rings around the meta right now, and anything that helps get rid of it makes me very happy. But this energy is really good, especially for Zeraora, but also lightning decks all around. I could even see Mega Electros being good, and I like that idea because I really like the idea of Mega Electros. But you thought that was good? This is Shadow Dark Energy. If a Dark type on the bench has this energy attached, they are immune to the secondary effects of attacking your opponent's Pokemon. This means Dragapult 60 damage from Phantom Dive, the 30 damage from Mining Grimmsnarl, and Mega Starmie's Jet Throw. Yeah, Jet Throw. Is Jet Throw right? Yeah, it's Jet Throw. This makes your bench Dark type Pokemon nice and safe from any chip from your opponent's active Pokemon. So you can have some sort of wall in the front and have all Dark types nice and safe on the bench. Although it doesn't necessarily work with Mega Darkrai Night Raid, but then again, you're not going to be using Night Raid with Mega Darkrai, you wanted to use Abyssal Eye. But honestly, this energy, pretty good. So now we're going to go onto some deck ideas that I think would work. Starting off with the Fossil decks. Now, in this set, we get introduced to a lovely new stadium called Antique Fossil Set, which is a buddy Poffin, but is search for fossils with antique in their name, such as the ones for Sinnoh fossils, Kalos fossils, and Unova fossils. The issue with fossil decks for the longest time has been Buzzoo, since fossils are technically item cards and then Buzzoo can item lock you. But with the new stadium, you can just put them on the bench whenever you want. Finally we got a new sweeper that was actually really good. We have Rampardo CX. For 2 energy, you deal 150 damage and then deal 150 next turn. The thing is, if this stacks, it's going to be insane, because you're doing 150 damage each turn. So it goes from 150, 200, not 200, I can't do maths, 300, then 450, and then I don't know after that. I didn't do well in maths. I was in the lower sets, but you get the idea. You keep building up, and then nothing can withstand you, except Crustle, because that thing's immune to everything nowadays. Now, if it doesn't, it's just going to be too strong opening the game and doesn't really do that much. But it does have a sweet new support option, Astiodon. It basically says that if this Pokemon is on the bench, not the active, the bench is immune, or your Pokemon are immune, to all damage from Pokemon with 2 or less energy attached. You want to know who uses 2 or less energy? Dragapult, Mega Lucario, Raging Bolt sometimes, Team Rocket Honchkrow, Mega Starmie, Marnie's Grimmsnarl, Dipplin, and a bunch more. Most decks nowadays don't use 3 energy, and you're going to have to keep attaching energy, which can prevent you from attaching energy to other Pokemon. Not to mention, we have Rampardos EX's Destructive Headbutt, which lets you flip a coin, and if head, you discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon, which could seriously prevent them from stacking energies and bypassing Ancient Bulwark. And Rust Syndicate Grunt! Yay! That could work! No, it couldn't. It's a really bad supporter. But now Fossil decks actually have some sort of use. You can even use cards like Tyrantrum with the Gutsy Swing and the Special Energy. I'm really looking forward to see Fossil decks pop up again, because quite frankly, they've never been good unless their name's Archeops. And finally, we have possibly the best deck in this set, the Ghost Veil deck. I remember seeing everyone freak out about this because they feel like it's the perfect deck to counter Dragapult. Well, Ghost Veil Pokemon are immune from attacks or abilities from your opponent's Pokemon. This includes Personal Limited to Shadow Dive 60 damage counters, Shadow Bullets 30 damage, Freezing Shrouds 10 damage, Powerful Spoons just all together, and Jetting Blows 50 damage. There is a bunch of cards with secondary effects that are running rings around the meta right now, and Ghost Veil is just immune to all of them. Now, it may be even affect Shadow Maze as well, Thunder Fist, and Ancient Bulwark, if we ever see them actually be used, but we don't know yet because the set hasn't been released yet, because it's not the 22nd of May. Now, there are 4 Pokemon with the Ghost Veil ability: Poltergeist, Sinister, Shuppet, and Banette. Banette has the Doll Catch attack, 80 damage for 1 psychic energy, and search your deck for any card, which is certainly not bad. Then we have Sinister. If you have 6 or more Pokemon in your discard with a Ghost Veil attack, well, not attack, ability, you put 4 damage counters on all of your opponent's Pokemon. But there's another one. We have Spiritomb, which is the Soul End attack. If you have 13 or more Pokemon in the discard with Ghost Veil, and just to let you know, there can only be 16 because there's 4 of these, but you get the idea. If there's 13 or more in the discard with the Ghost Veil, then you choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and quadruple the damage counters on them. I don't think we've seen an effect like that ever in the TCG, and that's crazy. It really works with decks like Frostlass and Grimmsnarl and Jetblow Mega Starmie, Risky Rumors, Munkidori. A lot of the meta right now is moving damage counters across, and Spiritomb's Soul End is really good at making those damage counters actually hurt. But then we also have Dhelmise with a Regretful Rage, which is 30 plus 140 if you have 4 Pokemon in the discard with Ghost Veil, which is a really good, start the game off sweeper. But how are you going to discard them? Well, there's cards like Carmine, Ultra Ball, or Win, the new card from this set, which lets you discard 2 Pokemon that haven't got a rule box, and there isn't a single Ghost Veil Pokemon with an EX. So yeah, you can pretty much guarantee loads of Ghost Veil Pokemon get put in your discard, and then start bashing things heads in with Spiritomb, Dhelmise, or even Poltergeist. This deck can even use Mega Chandelure as the main sweeper, but mainly focuses on Ghost Veil Pokemon. I really like the idea of this deck, and it's completely immune to Dragapult's Phantom Dive's 6 damage counters. This set feels like it's just trying to wall Dragapult, and I think that's really funny. Well, that's Abyssal Eye, or Abyss Eye, I'm not entirely sure what it's called. Overall, this set has some promising cards, like Mega Zeraora, Mega Chandelure, Mega Darkrai, Fossil decks, and Ghost Veil, but I guess we'll have to see. I'm genuinely tempted to use a Fossil deck because I've always wanted to use Tyrantrum but hate having to get blocked by Budgie. Overall, this set looks promising. I know I've donked on most of the cards in the set, but no set out there has all of the cards being good. So yeah, I give it a rating of Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see some more TCG analysis, like and subscribe. I'm intending to do it for every new set that comes out, maybe even go back and do Chaos Rising, although if I'm going to be honest, Chaos Rising doesn't look like it has any good cards in it besides special red cards. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.